Oh, man. I haven't been too impressed by Krako's Trundle so far, but it is a very strong tier pick right now. They want to deny it. Well, I mean, I guess you're not denying it at this point. So what is Def going to play? We got a big smile on his face.
I think it's Jinx.
You know who, okay.
I think this is a...
this feels like a bait.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not sure about the Yasuo here.
I would very strongly advise against it.
Ezreal
is a big throw. We haven't seen this one in a while. Very strong with the Renata.
Okay.
And you know what? I mean, consider in lane against Kalista, a lot of Ezreal lanes really struggle because Kalista does tons of damage, and especially in the early levels, Ezreal isn't going to be able to trade back that much, but he will have the loyalty program with him. Got handshakes to push back. And look at Renata locking in exhaust already here. Like, Beryl and Def know what they're in for here. And you want to go all in on the idea of long-term damage with the insane frontline you have with Gwen. And I think if the jungle pick here for DRX is something else like the Trundle, you feel a little bit more comfortable playing the Jinx we were talking about. But they're not really setting up for picks. Not a lot of great ways for Jinx to get excited here. I think the Ezreal happy to sit back while the Vi can engage, but is going to be playing more defensively this time around. Yeah. The Leona pick, very obvious. We've talked about how, you know, maybe they could have banned that one. They banned the Nautilus instead. The draft here for Live Sandbox is very self-explanatory. The Vi is stolen from them, which I think really hurts how this composition gets rounded out for them in the end.
It definitely does. I'm curious to see how much value Juan can get on the Vi without, you know, a big playmaking mid and stuff like that. I mean, Azir after level 6, maybe. Could see some plays, but not exactly, you know, your standard RE Vi. So it's denied, but also it's not like we're picking priority Poppy for Juan and he's going to be making plays. So curious to see him in that position. Also, Ezreal, we haven't seen him in a long time for a reason, right?
He's not great in this meta.
He's just not really good right now. So will Def make it happen is the question. Can Prince perform on the Kalista, which had to be the first pick to deny it away from Deft? Definitely a big question. And finally, we get ultimate comfort again for Dove. No Gnar,
nope.
no Aatrox. No, it's Ornn back here for Dove. Let's see. We're jumping onto the Rift for game 2.
Kalista got through a draft in the LCK. If you're a Live Sandbox fan, you're glad it's not Deft who's playing it. Prince, I hope that no one misunderstands when I say this, but he has been one of our weaker Kalista players of the teams that went to playoffs, of those favorites to make top 4. It's not, you compare him to the likes of players like Deft, like Ruler, like Gumayusi even. Gumayusi's had a weaker time here in summer, but he is not on the Kalista, right? And so you think of Prince as late-game AD carry player, not Kalista. I think that's why DRX were willing to play against his Kalista here. But when the rest of the draft rounds out, Deft's Zaya gets banned. I think that was the smartest ban Live Sandbox could have had. Like, we were just going to pick Vi because we can't let Krako have that into this comp. I think part of why Ezreal is seen here instead of the Jinx is because he has Arcane Shift and Getaways. We're going to see group up here for Sandbox.
Okay, spotted early. Let's see if DRX decide to stick around and actually fight this. It is a 3-on-3. You know, again, reminding me a little bit of what we saw in the LAC last night. But that would require them to, of course, then proxy the wave in between the turrets, and also that was on the opposite side. But either way, still going to get a nice little invade here, take away the blue buff, so Krako gets his revenge for the beginning of game 2.
Yeah, frustrating for Juhan in this matchup. Also, he has the health advantage here. We'll come over and try to punish Ward.
There was a question mark ping on where that ward is. So DRX knew there was a ward there, and they seemingly know this is a possibility.
Juhan has the smite advantage, but he just does not want to deal with this. Yeah. And this is so frustrating, too, because bot Prio goes to Prince Kael, so they're not going to have any help. Juhan is not going to have any help here, and Krako's just like, all right, I will do to you what you did to me.
Hello. And he pillars behind him, trying to deny the DRX bottom lane from coming in. But at the end of the day, again, we return to 3v3 as the bottom lane doesn't exist for now.
Yeah, it's just not a thing. Deft and Beryl do go right back. And Juan is just going to sit here. This is going to leash. He's like, well, if you're going to waste your time, I'll sit here with you and make it so, as Deft is going to continue to farm here for free. The early part of this 2v2, usually the Ezreal gets pushed in pretty hard. He's got a Renata with him, but Deft is actually free farming in this exchange.
It's getting low, but not low enough. We're at 800 health now for the Gromp. It's going to leash again.
The immortal Gromp! It's just never going to die.
This guy's got so much regen. And yeah, this is what you do. I mean
Deft.
This is the way you play the Kalista, right?
Yeah, but Deft is not losing anything, though. Unlike that LEC scenario, the wave isn't proxied. He's just farming. I think this overall has failed. Deft is like, cool, just go over there, Barrel, keep messing with them, waste Krako's time. Yeah, both junglers are going to be significantly behind in experience this game, which actually we will feel the effects of in 2 minutes' time when those ultimates are much more delayed. This means also, you know, Closer versus Zeka here, you're feeling pretty good as Closer in a lot of ways because Juhan 6 is going to be very delayed, but Deft is getting essentially this laning phase at neutral in his favor here. He's 2 CS up, and this usually does not happen. Now, as the junglers move away, I think this lane will naturally start pushing into Prince's advantage, but they didn't get the lead they were looking for with this extended invade, this camp.
Okay, here we go again. Unfortunately for Juhan, he is down a level and a buff, so you better run. As Krako is making that very clear, he says, okay, this is my Scuttle Crab.
And now he's got his smite, so he can just take this away.
Juhan, I mean, okay, he's got King from the top side, I suppose, but like, here comes Dove, flash in. Flash is used from multiple sides. Juhan now slowed down by the red buff, being chased down, and one chomp will extend the range and get first blood for Krako this time.
All right, well, I don't think we could have flipped the script any harder in terms of Krako versus Juhan here. Dove flashes for the attempted knock-up, and Kingan just can't make an impact, unfortunately, in this skirmish. The red buff slows, as you mentioned. It's just that simple. And now this is a disaster. Obviously, Deft felt pretty good about how the last exchange went, but Krako getting that level 3 advantage, and he's just camping. Juhan now is going to take his red buff away, and this is how this goes. And unfortunately, there's no Azir to help out here right now.
And, okay, so Krako he says, okay, I don't have enough prio. I'm not going to make my stand on the red buff.
He doesn't have smite yet.
Yeah, I'm just going to slowly chip away at these Raptors. And once again, just still be annoying, just like Juhan was, you know, always in the face of his opponent, trying to just be a living ward, spot where this Vi is at all times, steal away as many camps as possible. So he's doing a good job of that. But Juhan, at the very least, will hold on to his red buff.
And Closer's playing Ahri. He had prio, and if you do try to rotate over a Zeka, you just get charmed in that choke point, and Krako just turns on you, and you might die. You might have to flash, and then you're in even worse of a scenario than you were before. So Krako with a pretty measured advantage here, and the third time they collide, but still gets an edge here. And talking about Closer, remember Zeka, he's on his comfort on Assassins. His Akali is his most famous champion here in Korea, and we saw it pop off in the last game. Closer was playing Victor, which is the opposite of comfort for him. We saw Zeka finally kind of bring it back in the last series, but his Azir was a big weak point for DRX, whereas Closer is on one of his best champions in the Ahri this time around. You can even feel it here in the beginnings of this laning phase. Closer's playing it out so well. Has Kyle here, the roam up.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, Zeka has played a hefty amount of Azir games just because he's had to, because Azir is just kind of king in the meta at the moment. One of the trinity of Ahri, Sylas, Azir, but kind of on top just because of his lane dominance and stuff like that. So, yeah, I do agree. You know, he has been pretty hit or miss on the champ, but at least he has the experience.
In round one, he played it all the time when Deft was playing Kalista. It was like Kalista Corki or Kalista Azir. That was the MO for DRX in round one, and as the rest of the teams adapted, DRX fell off. But now that we moved back to a Kalista a more Kalista-oriented meta, it's like, whoa, it's DRX right all along. This time it's the Kalista against them, however. But Deft and Barrel handling this lane so well here. Only 10 CS behind. Juhan's coming down.
Juhan is here, and the timing is perfect, but guess who's also here? It's Krako, so they're trying to burst down and eclipse Leona. Where have we seen this before? Def, you're not playing Zeri. You're not going to ride that wall and get out of here. Juhan does not have flash, so they just turn onto him, but they're actually trying to get this kill onto Kyle. Not quite able to, and the bailout will not matter. That's going to be 2 kills eventually here to the side of Prince, who picks them both up again.
Not going to be very helpful to bail out, unfortunately, when the damage is this low this early on. Juhan is only level 5. Deft is hoping so desperately the bailout's going to buy enough time for him to come over and help secure that kill. They get the bailout on the Vi, they win this fight, but that's the only way they win it. At the end of the day, they do not. So 2 kills to Prince now. Krako's picked up his own 2 extra assists. He's got a massive lead. And he's just going to push it all over the map. And they already picked up the Drake before this. We didn't really spend that much time talking about it, but the bot prio affords them an early Mountain Drake. Now they can double objective here with the lead they have with Krako, the mid prio they have. And Dove is like, yeah, Kingen right now, your ultimate is nowhere near as valuable as mine's going to be on this objective fight. This is Gorn's first spike, right, is the first Herald fight where he's like, all right, walk into the line of knockups or, you know, just give the Herald, and they're going to give the Herald in this case. Liv Sandbox have such a huge lead of the comp that already relies so much on tempo. Everything going according to plan here is we're going to watch Prince's first-person view here. It's okay, go. Flash was great. The Eclipse value here, massive for Kyle. He just is unkillable. The pillar placement is great. Bailout buys a lot of time, but Deft is nowhere to be seen. And even though he was trying to assassinate the Leona so they could get that bailout, he's unable to do so. He made the risky call to path bottom so that hopefully the bailout could turn this. But unfortunately, there's no way out because of the choice he made, so it's a guaranteed 2 kills.
Yeah, pretty straightforward from the bottom side of Liv Sandbox. This is what you would expect from them, to use this priority and to get ahead. So good on them for making it happen. We'll have to wait and see if the Ezreal eventually can be in this game, because so far outside of farming has just kind of been hanging out. Is Deft, as now 1,000 gold is the lead here for Prince. You see that also the jungle has been obviously a major victory point for the side of Liv Sandbox. Krako will be spotted here at least, but has been hanging around this mid lane a lot. Just going mid to bot.
And the Herald's going to get dropped now. More money mid. Kyle, look at the roam.
Oh, forcing the flash with the pillar.
Yeah,
and the Spirit Rush.
With this Herald crashing through with a massive wave, I mean, who could blame Kyle for setting up for a potential dive here? They won't actually go for it. And they're just going to rotate, rather not Kyle, or yeah, Kyle there. And they're going to rotate over Prince, helping set up for that. They could have gone over the wall. Grabbing an extra plate here. Closer gets out just barely. And 20 CS up now. I mean, Deft was keeping it pretty even for a long time. He kept all of his plates alive, too, which is often not the case at this stage with an Ezreal lane. He's got a Renata that helps a lot, but it's starting to get out of control very quickly.
Yeah, 20 CS lead on top of the kills means that's where the majority of that gold lead will come from. As you mentioned, very importantly, no plates yet, but still 3 minutes for Prince and Kyle to potentially push those down, so we'll see how that one goes. We do have a very early crown purchase here for Zeka. It's kind of the way that he has liked to build this champion. He's not going to be going into the line of thinking that we had in the last game from Closer, where he just builds full damage and try to survive.
There's just so much, there's so many threats for him that I don't mind it here, but it feels like, unfortunately, Azir isn't going to do the maximum amount as you would want him to, as Deft is now no longer allowed to farm. And this is what happens when the Kalista gets ahead, and the jungler is also allowed to make big movements down towards the bottom side where he has fully set up vision. He's going to grab the Scuttle Crab, and in 30 seconds time, less than 30 seconds, the Drake is going to spawn. If you get the dive off and kill Deft, you're feeling even better, but Deft surviving isn't great when he's losing more farm, and you're still not getting control over this Drake.
He's just standing there. He's like, yeah, nice crown, buddy. I'm just going to take this sword. I really don't care because you do not do damage yet. It's going to take at least a couple more items for Zeka's attacks to really be felt, especially by Krako, who's very ahead.
The spike of the shield bow for Kalista is pretty massive in a skirmish for an objective early on, because it's going to give Prince so many more autos. It's going to give him that extra shields, and it will set up for a bigger rend. Whereas look at the items of Deft right now. He's basically on the idea of an Essence Reaver with the
He's thinking about it, yeah.
He's got a little bit of cooldown direction. He's got a little bit of extra mana. None of these things are relevant right now.
Well, that wasn't it from Kyle, but all of the threats will still force Beryl to flash, which is just fine because Kyle, he just used his Solar Flare, that's it.
I love that Live Sandbox are not going to take a Drake. They're just going to force the idea, like the group up for a Drake is so good for them. If they ever just decide, okay, we're not going to push the pressure anymore, they get a free Drake, but they're going to push as far as they can, get all the advantages they can while grouped up on Drake. And the biggest winner of this for DRX is Zeko is still free farming in mid with this huge group up. But the cost is so high for Deft, who's already behind. It isn't going to be relevant for so long. Mentioned as Reaver earlier. Of course, he went for Trinity Force this time around. Some more meta these days. And true shot attempt, first strike value.
He spotted them. But yeah, this is what happens. This is why we don't see Kalista. This is not a Kalista region because it very much is. Like,
well, it's not a Kalista region. It's a permaban.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're just not allowed to play it because everybody's so good at the champ, and it's also busted when you play it well, and everybody does play it well. So
even Prince, like I said, he's playing the champion extremely well, even though he's not known for it, like the other players that we've been talking about.
And then the other piece is like, you pick the Vi for the counter pick, which obviously would have been very threatening with the Ahri Vi, but then, you know, Krako's like, okay, whatever, I'll just pick Trundle. And then now your bottom lane doesn't get to play the game. Not to mention Def doesn't get to pick a AD carry that's relevant for the early stages of the game. And that is why we have this massive lead at the moment. Might not look like much in terms of the gold, but 2,000 at 14 is still pretty large.
Yeah, it's large, but it's 2 Drakes plus that.
Yeah, and it's a massive Kalista. Like, the gold's in a good spot. I guess the Ahri not getting too fed is a bit of a deal.
I mean, Krako 2 levels down is like, let's go. Leona's coming up.
Yeah.
The other
getting so much value in this game.
The thing is, the bottom turret is essentially gone now. Deft is rotating. Looks like he was considering going topside here. I mean, you have no control over that.
Okay, they're going to go on top of the Crown Azir, but the charm will come in. Zeka lives forever, and eventually will get the knockaway. But there is Dove from downtown. Will enable this kill onto Zeka eventually. He tries desperately to get the bailout. Not going to happen as Juhan now is being chased down. He has to flash away. And Kangan was never able to join the fight, zoned away earlier, as that is another nice little wraparound from Live Sandbox trying to pick up the second Herald.
Yeah, this was a nice idea, but Krako is just so difficult to kill. He's got his gauntlet online, he has Subjugate, and Dove with the sniper rifle, Ornhorn.
Julian's just dead.
He's trying to make a cross map on Raptors.
There's no Spirit Rush, but it should eventually take him down. Does mean also that he's not here for the fight. As, yeah, I mean, eventually, as that is a double knock-up, and yes, Juhan will go down. As Kraka will move in, he does pick up the Rift Herald Eye, and even the damage is not quite there for the side of DRX. Zeka comes in, and you can see now Closer, he's going to come back into this fight. Another double knock-up, and DRX have absolutely overstayed. Closer is right there, showing the value of this Ahri, and hands over 2 more kills to Prince.
Def doesn't have any agency against this much damage that's front-loaded, and he's firing this Trinity Force Ezreal worth of autos and Qs into an Ornn in these fights, into Eclipse Leona a lot of the time in these fights. Trundle, these tanky champions he's firing to, so he's just basically a pea shooter with his gauntlet. And it's not going to get better anytime soon for him. And the problem is this game is so quickly now moving away from DRX that forcing fights like this for Rift Herald feels like you're in a catch-22 moment, because if you let it go, the lead furthers for Live Sandbox. They start taking turrets off the map, and then where can Deft even farm? That's already an issue. But if you fight it and lose it, you fall even further behind and you lose those turrets. And there's just no good choice here when the Kalista is this fed. Deft tries his best true shot here. The snipe is amazing from Dove here. Zeka's trying to get that going to Krako, but he's just too tanky. And DRX lose out here, and then in the follow-up fight, on the Herald itself, like, look at Def try to do things in this fight. It's like, I just really want to hurt them.
Yeah.
I really want to hurt anybody. Is Kingan also in this early stage of the game isn't able to 1v3 basically without Def or no. Like, late game Gwen, yeah, she loves this fight, but not right now, not yet.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the issue, right? I mean, DRX, they have 3 pieces of the puzzle that are just hoping and praying they can get to late game without a hitch. But, I mean, take a look at this game. It's Live Sandbox with an aggressive composition, and you're playing all of the scaling with no real answer. I mean, your Vi falls behind, your bottom lane doesn't do anything. The Ezreal needs at least 2 items. Crown Azir, in this case, needs at least 2 or 3 items.
Yeah.
And kind of the same for King. And, like, you know, if he hits all of his needles at this point, it looks good, but he's not a real threat.
I mean, look at the gold lead here for Prince.
Just felt like a... So the more I think about it, it just feels like a bit of a greedy draft, and Liv Sandbox were like, oh, you dare pick this? Let me punish you for that.
I think the Vi really hurts this draft too because it doesn't functionally work with the rest of this comp. If they had something like a Xin Zhao, something more defensive even, you feel a lot better, but you just couldn't give Vi Ahri into any AD carry that Deft is going to play with Kalista, and so they had to pick it away, and it's been pretty invisible. I think part of the reason why DRX tried to force that fight was because Closer was taking so long to kill Juon. They thought, okay, we're kind of up a DPS here, let's win this, but it's a flailing Deft, unfortunately, that they're up, essentially, and Zeka wasn't really in good position there. And then Closer has TP, and he joins the fight anyways. Speaking of Closer, he's ready to jump on Juhan again.
This is a Ahri who's, I mean, this is not going to happen, but Juhan, there's nothing else for him to do. There's no camps. He can't threaten the dragon, obviously, so it looks silly, but
Zeka,
to be honest, like, this is all he could do outside of maybe counter jungling at this point in time.
Zeka has, I mean, he's just protecting Zeka for side laning. He's like just going to be his bodyguard because Zeka is going for the Nashor's Tooth build, and he's going to be a side lane threat. He's already taken a pretty significant experience lead over Closer, you could see here. Nearly a full level up right now, and that is going to be important potentially if we do go to a game state where DRX can buy time. If they can grab this Drake and buy 5 minutes more for depth, 5 minutes more for this Azir to side lane, and maybe set up for some angles where they get prio on a Drake using that side laning. They have the Renata ult defensively. There are ways. With the lead this big here for Liv Sandbox, I just don't trust that any of those things will happen. I think that Liv Sandbox is just going to keep pushing their advantages. This is a game state that Liv Sandbox loves, where they can just go in all the time and it makes sense and it's correct.
Also, by the way, I mean, look at the itemization already from Liv Sandbox. You've got 2 Negatron cloaks. You have Banshee's Veil coming up here for Ahri. You're playing into Gwen Azir, but not only that, it's Ezreal who brings a lot of magic damage. So it's double AP plus an Ezreal. It's just so easy for Liv Sandbox to itemize against this.
I mean, look at the verdant barrier as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it's like
not going to hurt you.
In this case, you know, a lot of times I don't like defensive Ahri builds, but in this one, it's like, hell yeah. I mean, that MR is going to go so far against this. The Vi does 0.
I mean, the Kalista's about to hit her 3rd item. Ezreal's, like, Deft is struggling to put together the Muramana.
This is always a funny little dance.
Deft is like,
around this.
Deft is like, please give me some extra Qs. Can I hit anything so I can get another True Shot barrage to get some extra first strike value? Let me just shoot a True Shot at Dove. Like, give me some money, please, anything. And he can't farm freely because the Ahri is a threat, the Kalista is a threat, the Trundle is a threat. It's not like Deft is farming poorly. He's just not allowed to farm. There's too many ways for him to just be picked and die.
Yeah.
Nashor's is also done here now for Zeka, and he's competing with his Azir for money on the map. He can't take both waves. I mean, look at him just catching waves under turret while Liv Sandbox get vision all around Baron. Yeah. It's a Kalista comp. They can take Baron so quickly.
That's the thing about Liv Sandbox, too. You know, if this were even DRX or, you know, Dom 1, let's say, in the scope of these regional qualifiers, like, there's a couple of teams that struggle sometimes with leads. They play it a little bit too passively, but this is Liv Sandbox, right? Like, they are going to pull the trigger sometimes incorrectly. They're going to be too aggressive. They're going to make plays that look silly because they are trying so hard to make a play and not just sit back. So I'm actually kind of surprised that they haven't tried to start the Baron, even though it's only 22 minutes into the game with the lead that they do have. But I suppose Liv Sandbox do have some semblance of breaks.
Zeka and Kingen both have teleport, and they're, you know, Gwen is here. So there's a threat that if you mess this up, Zeka teleports in. I don't know if he's going to be teleporting anywhere anytime soon, but if he teleports in while you're committed, you know, there's a way for him to be able to set up an Emperor's Divide and punish you there. And Gwen obviously gets side lane really well, so if you start a Baron and then you can't commit, you lose a lot of side lane powers. Okay.
There it is. Suhan has to flash. Everybody has to flash. They do go directly into the hostile takeover, but who cares at this point? Because there is no follow-up, as Juhan does eventually get out. Dove's like, I'm here for the party. Am I late? Yeah, a little bit late this time, Dove, but that's okay.
Juhan's like, I'm a really good player. Did you see what I did to Croco last game? Why'd you put me on the Vi? Why'd you let him have Kalista?
Yeah, it really felt like DRX just overthought the draft. We've seen this happen before. You know, the Poppy ban, the non-Vi ban, having to pick it, all becoming issues for them, as now lining up are the three of them. Dove, very easy, like he's bowling from 5 feet away. And he actually was. The flash comes in from Closer, trying to hit that, not going to hit that. Kingen just saddles away. So it is just the kill onto Beryl.
It's an important kill, though, and the Renata Glass ultimate is down. Deft here trying to set up for something. He's so low health.
Oh my God. They keep missing everything. Like, they're desperately trying to make these plays. We saw Domlin do this so well.
And I think
from ahead.
The big success here for Liv Sandbox is not only do they get Beryl, but there's nobody side laning. There's no pickup of that extra bounty gold in top or bottom because they're grouped up here on this objective. Deft just barely escapes here. Kyle gets the stun, he has cleanse, gets away, Dove not able to catch him. But the crucial thing is both Zeka and Kingen have to TP in here. They're not actually able to side lane. And if DRX could somehow, if they had another way to slow this Baron down while they were putting pressure elsewhere on the map, or if they had teleport wards, if they had any vision, any agency in this game, you'd be like, well, that was pretty costly what Liv Sandbox did just there. Yeah, they got Beryl, but what did they lose? Nothing, actually, in this case, and they could do it again. They're going to take this Drake first, which is Cloud Soul, which is insanely good for their comp, and then they can group up on Baron and be like, well, this time you don't have teleports, so I'm not worried about any side lane pressure for the Gwen or Azir. The fact that it's a Gwen Azir and it's Nashor's Tooth Azir, and both of those outer turrets are standing at full health, basically, really says the state of the game. There is no side laning angle. It's just too dangerous. It's too risky.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, DRX, once they get behind with this comp, you're just going to sit there and try to farm for like 3-4 items. There's not really much else you can do. As Prince is just going to start this up by himself. He does have a Bloodthirster and a shield bow. So you can see what the idea is. He's getting pretty low, though. Might need some help from his team sometime soon.
I just want to make sure it's not a 50-50. Dove rotated up, doesn't have teleport either. Zeka has got that back online here, and he's pushing it. You know, this is Liv Sandbox trying to force something around that Baron, but they're giving DRX a lot of time. Zeka is getting some side laning done, and I thought his teleport was down. Maybe that was a bug in one of the replays we had earlier, but he still got it here, so he's really saying, all right, Prince, if you're going to try to solo this, like, we're going to group around the edge of it.
Look at what Jonas Strong is showing to us, or at least one of the observers, right? The entire vision control of their own jungle is to DRX. I mean, Liv Sandbox, they have been giving kind of feeble attempts at the Baron for the last 5 minutes, and the Soul is not really, you know, the Cloud Soul is nice, and they'll take it for free, but it's not really a huge threat. It's not something that DRX say, okay, we need to deny this, we have to fight. They're like, no, we're just giving it up for free, whatever. We have to scale, we cannot fight them.
Yeah.
And there's no Baron, there's no big objective just yet. A lot of outer turrets, or rather inner turrets, still available here on the side of DRX. So effectively 6 minutes at least bought here for DRX.
And Deft is just catching waves in mid. He's really struggling to farm right now. He's actually kind of grouped up around these vision tussles, and he needs to be there to even clear wards. But he's getting some farm.
Seems like maybe this time is the real time. As no, okay, they're actually just going to go for the fight here. They find Beryl again for free. Death, oh, the charm is huge. They're going to catch Suhan. That's the jungler down. Kroko gets low, but he's got Subjugate, and he is so fast. Just going to sprint out of there.
It's Cloud Rift.
Yeah.
Just like, see you later.
So he's got all of this. He's got his W. Nice needles, actually. Good poke here from the side of DRX.
I mean, this is Deft on no mana as well to try to help carry this fight here. They have no vision.
It's only the damage dealers left for DRX as Deft uses some of that last mana to forward as here comes Kyle. He's going to find Zeka. Big Emperor's Divide is going to be buffered, but here comes Prince and the chase is on. That's going to be the end of the Azir, and it should be the end of the entirety of this DRX roster. Kingen will also get caught out, and finally, Liv Sandbox are able to break through.
Kalista, do not leave it up in this region. Don't leave it up in the LPL either, as we've seen.
Or the LEC. Don't leave it up there.
Just don't do it. Like LTL, you know, it's alright.
Give it a couple of tries. See what happens. You never know.
Prince dominates the early game here with the just complete gapping that Kroko put onto the Rift here.
The gapping.
With the Trundle. And, I mean, this game was I think as about as one-sided as it gets. I mean, we're perfect game territory here.
Yep, Barrel might. Okay, he's got flash.
No turrets, no kills.
It's actually going to live for quite a while. That Dove ult's not great, and there's still a massive wave they're trying to get and push in here, but Zeka's now up. That's the crown down. Depth alive as well. As TP now coming in. Kingan's got an angle. If you're going to send it, you got to send it here, I think, right? You don't want to let them go all alone. And Living, as Kingan is trying to frontline, as now Vi is going to set this one up as Kingan gets a kill. A massive Emperor's Divide! Does Zeka find the angle? He may have just done it, but they only kill Prince. It's still a huge shutdown, but everybody else on the side of Live Sandbox will live.
The True Sharp Barrage isn't going to stop any backs here, but DRX getting a big win here against the onslaught of Live Sandbox. They get the mid inhibitor, but they get trapped. It's a really nice setup from Zeka. They're going to start Baron up here, and there's nobody nearby. There's no vision. They have the damage at this stage, and we're almost 30 minutes in. Live Sandbox, this could be the beginning of a comeback here for DRX. This is going to be a massive amount of gold. It's Bounty Baron.
Zeka?
He taketh away, Valdez.
What? So I think what happened there was that he was in the shop and he was trying to click into the back of the pit, but he clicked over the wall, so the Azir started running around. That is a big mistake to make in this in this situation.
Because now they have no great clear, and like Live Sandbox, because they ran straight to Baron, still have a wave here of super minions. Baron buff is going to be helpful here defensively, but that's a lot of your wave clear gone. Kingan still is a champion that can clear those and snip those up, but Live Sandbox, if they get even one pick here with this Kalista Ahri, it's lights out, they win the game.
Kingan is massive at this point. He was the one guy. He's the one guy who has any kills, by the way, but he got both of the big shutdowns in the last fight, so it's kind of going to be up to this level 16 Gwen.
So hard to break Closer's Banshee Veil.
They're not going to do it.
The Baron buff goes to DRX. The respawn comes through here for Zeka. 30 seconds on Elder. This is the fight to determine the game, but Live Sandbox can just hold these chokes. Just hold these chokes. There's no vision here for DRX whatsoever. They have no idea where anyone is standing. Where's the Ahri? Where is the Trundle?
DRX can just push mid as 5. If they're trying to fight for this Elder, this is what you got to do.
There's so little time left. It's a Kalista comp. The speed at which Live Sandbox could take this down is so fast. Closer on an angle here, clearing up that vision. And yeah, like you said, this is all DRX can do. One chance, one last shot at it.
5v5 in the mid lane. And yes, I mean, Prince is going to be doing the majority of the damage. The Ahri is not really a factor in terms of this damage. It's just Trundle and Prince on the Kalista. So they do have the damage on this one, as now the Charm is going to miss. Dove is going to hit one, but where's the follow-up? Juon's going to try to ult in onto Closer, try to zone him away. In comes the Renata ultimate. The damage's not quite there for DRX, but they are grouped up as 5. Juon so low.
Deft untouched.
Deft gets the kill onto Leona. This is so low and a massive scoop. Zeka does it again. Once again, and that is a second kill now for Deft, and they're chasing them down. DRX are making the unbelievable happen here. They're going to take down the Elder Drake at 31 minutes and turn this game on its head.
Closer, there's nothing he can do. He's got a super wave minion set up here in the mid, but he cannot actually push it. He's already alone. And this is the whole map opened up for DRX. Bounties are still available, and DRX only behind a few thousand gold here, but they are going to be up it in seconds as they rip through what's left of these outer turrets here. And Kingan, he sets up the damage, but it's really Zeka who's the real hero here. Deft completely untouched on the left side of the pit, doing the damage there. And it's Ezreal in this meta. We haven't really seen it find success, and this has not been Deft's game. But look at the setup here.
It is now.
In terms of where everybody is for Live Sandbox, Dove's ult hits only Zeka alone. Kyle is dying 1v1 to Deft. There is no coordination in this fight for Live Sandbox whatsoever.
Kingan zones away Prince and Croco and Dove.
And Prince is just trying to set up for a rend take here on this Elder, so he's not doing damage to anyone either. He's the last really important person to die here for Live Sandbox, and it was just unfortunate in the late game here, not a coordinated defense of Elder. The Baron buys him enough time, DRX, to get that mid-prio setup. The game isn't over yet, but DRX are now in control of it. And the fact that there's so much standing turrets on the map here, we were on the edge of a perfect game.
Yeah.
And now DRX are in control, and they're taking all these turrets off the map. This gives Liv Sandbox some extra staying power. They're not going to die anytime soon here. And even with Elder, they should be able to wear that one away. It's only a minute left on it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what an incredible comeback here for DRX.
It's huge. I mean, Liv Sandbox, remember, they were on the Nexus turret, the last one that remained. And that was supposed to be the ending potentially, but it took them too long. They weren't able to put the nail in the coffin, like we always say. And guess what? I mean, remember 13 minutes ago, I was like, oh, I'm surprised Liv Sandbox haven't taken the Baron already as a joke. But it took them 13 minutes, and that was 13 minutes that DRX took, and they said, okay, we're just going to get ourselves fed as Juan, well, he is going to die here, as now Kingen might be roped into this one. Remember that DRX have Elder, as Krako might just burn down here.
Gonna just barely live. Elder fading away.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is a pretty significant pick here onto Juhan, but he will be up, of course, for the Baron spawn. Liv Sandbox getting a lot of control over the map here now, and this pressure is staved off. My biggest concern here is this is just him getting caught backing good pillar here. And that's the end of that. Doesn't get charmed, doesn't matter. Kingan's like, I want to trade back this fight in this choke point, but Liv Sandbox actually have restraint here, which is, you know, we don't always say that, but they're like, ooh, Elder buff's still up. That's a Gwen in the choke point. Let's back away. But Liv Sandbox actually get a lot of map control back from this, and they need it to make this comp work. I mean, we're starting to get full builds on these champions here, and yeah, Dove is significantly behind Kingen because he is playing Ornn and loses a lot of farm here. Kingan's about to get a death cap. He's so strong. He's so incredibly powerful in this late game stage. But if Liv Sandbox get in a good position and have a coordinated team fight, still possible for them. Def with that Murama or the Maw Malmortius.
Yeah.
Stopwatch still up for him. Stopwatch still up for Zeka.
I'm just worried for Liv Sandbox that it almost feels like their time is up. This hasn't been the cleanest game from either side, and it feels a little bit to me like Damwon Kia kind of broke their mentality of, you know, we're just going to send it, that romantic kind of feel where we're just going to take any fight. They have been showing a little bit of restraint and maybe a little bit too much, like the vision control around the Baron earlier on was not quite there. And they have given time now for DRX to come back into this game.
There's no vision here now, though, really, except the one ward that was placed in the pit, the Trinket, which is, of course, blocked by this control ward. So DRX very carefully trying to suss this one out. Liv Sandbox just trying to force a fight. They're not going to try to do Baron. They need to win a straight-up team fight, because in a longer fight, or if they start Baron, DRX's comp wins that battle.
Yeah, the range advantage is just
massive.
It's ginormous, okay? Like, you're playing against Ezreal Azir and Gwen Needles, okay? Like, what are you going to do? Either you hard engage or you don't engage at all.
There's also an Ahri here who has a death cap, but went for a utility build. There's no long-term damage there, where Zeka
just can't do damage.
Yeah, Zeka does a ton.
Range.
Look at the poke. I mean, it's starting to actually add up here. Yeah, it's this Ezreal build feels pitiful against the Ornn armor, but it will eventually stack up.
Yeah, and that's a zoning way of closer. Now Kingen level 18 on the Gwen.
He's going in.
And they're lining up for him. Now, Krako did bait out those needles, so it's a pretty low cooldown, but that might be the trigger pull here for Liv Sandbox, certainly considering it, but a True Shot Barrage is going to spot this one starting up now.
Closer seen as well, just barely. Residual vision.
Okay, Kingen going to be just pummeled in here, but he's got the Zhonya's already. Beryl is able to line up a one. No, he's not quite able to, actually, as that's going to be the stun on Zeka as well. The Empress Divide, not great, as this is a messy fight. Juhan is trying to assassinate Closer, and he will take him down.
Def's still alive.
But look at Def, he's trying to get this one. He's over the wall. Everybody is incredibly low on the side of Liv Sandbox.
Can Def pull it off?
True Shot Barrage. No, he's going to miss the Q. That might just be it for the clutch flash. Def, did he do it? He's going to do it! He's doing it again! That's going to be another kill, but Prince is still alive, and he's trying to push down the mid lane, and Def doesn't have a health bar.
He doesn't have a health bar here, and he has to run from Krako. He can't get back here. He's trying to get health back off these Krugs. I mean, the push is real. The inhibitor's buying time.
Krako knows where he should be. He should be here in the tri-brush.
He can't get the back off.
Can't get the back off. I think Prince is just going to be able to end this game. Def goes down. And 9 seconds until Beryl, but I think Prince has got enough. Liv Sandbox will take this game even on the tightrope at the end of this
Look
one.
at that gold for Liv Sandbox, 66.6, and I feel like we saw some demons in that game, didn't we? We saw Liv Sandbox playing a comp that they are so great at taking leads and pushing them with. They almost perfect gamed DRX. They pushed down mid. They were on the last